Warning, this program is no fucks given, attitude driven, and is the opinion of two dudes with a computer. If you are offended, frankly, we are beyond giving a shit. Viewer discretion is advised. Oh yeah, here we go. There ain't no stopping them. It's the news from two dudes with attitude. Now, here they are, your hosts, Mr. Bruce and the Reverend Rob Lee. What's happening, Mr. Bruce? We are live tonight. Let's see if anybody joins us here tonight. What's that?
How we doing, Reverend Rob?
I am good. We are, I put this out there, want to see what's going on, want to see, I should have put, because everybody's used to this being pre-recorded, I should have put we're being live and join the conversation, but I didn't. And, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But here we go. Let's see what happens. Maybe some people will jump in, join in. We'll find out what's happening, and we will just go from there. So, bang-a-rang, my brother.
If they jump in, they're probably going to be pissed off anyway. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I said we might talk a little bit of religion tonight, and I know we've been kind of trying to stay, but it's time for us to just have conversations like you and I have, and if nothing else, I want people to see that there might be some things that, we may not agree on, but tomorrow you and I would be there for each other no matter what, because that's just the way we are. It's just conversation and having topics and sharing opinions,
Growing up, we were told you never discuss religion and politics. And
right.
That was supposed to be you never discuss them in a professional environment. But that's gotten to be just you don't discuss religion and politics. Truth is, then because of that, people don't converse about it.
Right. They argue about it. They don't. There's no conversation.
There's no middle ground. You aren't enlightening anyone as to how you feel and why you may feel that.
Right.
Christianity is a lot about faith and things unseen. And well, before we go anywhere, what the Reverend Rob,
right? We've talked about this before.
Oh, well, just for the others who actually may have heard it, if you will, give us a brief synopsis about why you're a reverend and your upbringing. I mean, I know these things, but
right.
Why you're a reverend and your upbringing and, kind of what your background is on it and then where you're coming from on this, because you have a much different perspective than I do.
Right. And, I was raised up staunch, independent, fundamental, not Southern Baptist. They were the liberals, that independent, fundamental Baptist. And, there were things that weren't that bad about the upbringing in it. I'm glad I have the knowledge and about the things I do, and there are things I still believe. However, in being around a lot of these ministers, most of them are going to schools and church. The reverends that I were about, the pastors including my dad, no real education. And if they had an education, it was basically out of a non-accredited school. They're calling themselves doctors after 3-4 years or whatnot. But then they get together in front of a panel of a church and they're ordained because a bunch of people asked them a bunch of questions and they were able to tell them how many different ways they agreed with them. So that's where an ordained minister comes from. There's nobody's on that board that disagrees with you, or whatnot. So, I steered away from the Reverend for a long time, and I got this because I became a Reiki practitioner. One of the things in Florida, you either have to, I went through the Universal Life Church, In Florida, to practice Reiki, if you're going to touch somebody, you have to go spend 600 hours and thousands of dollars to become a licensed masseuse. Has nothing to do with Reiki, but that's the way Florida is. Florida jumped all over it with the Reiki. Or you could be a minister and you can minister to somebody. Now, when I do Reiki, I don't touch anybody, okay? But I got this to avoid different aspects of being able to talk to people, help people do some things. Also, I went and got my master's degree, went back for 7 years. Took me a long time to get that degree, and now I'm still finishing up. It's going to wind up being a 10-year journey to get my actual license. What I found out, I didn't have to have a license if I was Christian counseling. That's exempt from the state of Florida. So there's a lot of these ministers that are counseling because it's religious, and Florida is so protective of its religious background, that are counseling people, but without any background in social work, in psychology, in personality traits, personality study, nothing. I still steered away from it because the subject was so near and dear to my heart. Finally, one day, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to embrace this. Toyed with starting my own church. All right. One of the things I wanted to embrace, though, was, again, there are ministers out here getting up, talking about stuff that they have no idea, just a group of people that agree alike, and the state says they can do it. You know what? I have more education than a lot of these ministers in dealing with human beings. So in that's where I embrace my reverend part. It's spiritual. I am not religious. It is one of those things. So that kind of is where the reverend comes in from.
Okay. You can perform weddings.com.
Yes. Yes. I've done weddings. Okay.
But,
and the silliness about it is you don't even have to be ordained to perform weddings. Go get your notary. Okay.
Well, Bridget has done weddings before.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Bridget, I see you popped in. Good to see you. Glad you're there. People popping in and out, but I think we're scaring them. Okay.
Well, it won't be the last time either. So
no, it won't.
I'm going to be a whole lot shorter. I was actually raised Catholic. Went through some things, stepped away from that for a while. Came back. I was Episcopal Catholic light. Stepped away for a little while. Had some issues. I questioned the whole concept of Christianity as a whole. Then I totally went ahead and I did a major rebound and Pentecostal. Oh my God, speaking in tongues, the whole thing.
Jump in the pews. Woohoo!
And then I just realized that I really don't believe it. Agnostic is defined as believing there's something, but it's not one of the structured religions around. And there's actually a long definition for it, but I'm probably agnostic. There's something out there. I do believe that we're not here just by random chance.
Right.
So there is some kind of hand over the whole thing. But is it the whole Christianity as we know it? Christianity is popular in America, but it's not really the most popular in the world. Buddhism, Judaism, they actually pale it in it. Our culture is a Christian culture. So that's why we think that is the most prominent. But actually, if you look worldwide, Christianity is, I think, number 3 or 4 in it. And maybe somebody can actually fact check that for us while we're on. But I have issues with the whole concept of it. And I'm sure in the next hour or so, you're going to find out exactly why.
Okay.
So, what do you believe, Rob?
I believe in God. I do believe that there is a God, but now I believe God is an entity, okay? Not so much a person. It has masculine attributes as well as feminine. And the very Bible talks about those feminine attributes. It has attributes, masculine, fighting, anger, things like this, but it also has feminine, caring, whatnot, okay? I don't call myself anything. I was raised Baptist. I believe in God. I believe there is a higher power. I believe that we have been given gifts by God, by the universe. Okay. going far afield from what Baptists, kind of like you, the way I was raised, the Bible be the inspired, breathed word of God, that was God's words in the people that penned it. It was God's words when they translated it. I'm just trying to figure out in the translation how the Catholics wound up with 2 more books than we did. So let's talk about just that right there. It was translated from the Catholic.
I can answer that question for you.
Go right ahead.
Council of Charlemagne. What they did is they actually went ahead and brought in all of the learned leaders from all over the region, brought them together, and said, we're going to go ahead and have one unified story. Before that, to some people, Jesus was a prophet. He was a learned man. He was a wise man. Some believed in him, some didn't. To some, he was a ghost. Whatever the case may be. But they took everything they had and said, we're going to go ahead and unify our story. Council of Charlemagne, you can go and look it up. And they unified the story. And they actually took all of the options, books of the Bible.
Okay, when you say they unified the story, hold on, because you're losing me at one point. Because the Catholic Bible is different than the King James Version. Correct. So who unified the story?
This is actually before that. They took all the stories of the Bible, put them on a table, and said, we want X amount. And they actually banged on the table. Things fell off the table. The ones that were left, that's God's will, and this is our Bible. Boom. Then,
okay, but who are you saying did that? I'm not following that, because we know a lot of the Bible was deciphered from Dead Sea Scrolls.
The agreed upon wise men got together, the council. This is how we're going to go.
But you're not giving me a timeline here. King James wise men or prior to King James?
This is actually before King James.
Okay, go ahead.
At this point, Christianity was actually a very like I said, I can look it up, but it was but Christianity was actually a very minor religion. There was no solidarity in it. There was no unified story. Like I said, some people didn't even believe it. Right. But that's how they got the tales for it. So people left, and at one point, Jesus was just a dude. Wise men left, came to this, and then when they returned home, Jesus was the Son of God. That's our story. We're sticking to it. The things that fell off, some of them wanted to have it in, and then those stories became the ones who are actually not in the Bible. And at this point, I think the Catholics picked some up. Latter-day Saints has some extra stuff in it, but we know the books of the Bible that actually are not in it. But
what finally threw me, Bruce, and let me give you a personal thing that I went through. Growing up, hearing a preacher say, this King James version of the Bible is what we should be listening and following. And then later, as I'm an adult, and I am at a dinner table with this man, okay, and my father and other preachers, they all begin to disagree on it. Okay, and say that that's not King James, really not the right version. It's supposed to be this version over here. Right then, and one of them actually said, yes, but if we say that, all of our congregations will fire us. That was a turning point in my life for listening to a lot of these men, and was actually a deciding factor in that of me taking on Reverend. I will never lie. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Okay? So there's so much there that I don't. That's my own personal story, what you're talking about. Okay? I don't know about the banging on the table thing. I'm going to have to look into that. This doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, oh, poof, we're banging on the table and now he's the Son of God.
Yes, it was, oh, poof, now we are. Look it up. Take a second. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. I was considering going to seminary school at one point in a much, much younger life. But the Council of Charlemagne, but it was an absolute, this is how we unify our shit. Instead of having a bunch of little factors and shit like that, this is how we're going to unify our stuff. And that's when it became one universal story. And that was when it was Christianity. And then it broke off into Episcopalian, Catholicism, Baptist. It kind of broke
Well,
off from
because
there.
again, there are beliefs in different beliefs among Christianity. This is one of the reasons I get really wild when people say, you know, all Christians are homophobe. No, they're not. Okay. They're really not. There are a good sect of them that are. Okay. But again, I thought we weren't supposed to be slapping labels on everybody, but they do want to slap labels on people of religion. But religious people can't even agree in Christianity about what happens. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You
Yes,
know?
I do. Yes, Sig, I do. These and they're on the table floor. They're on the table floor. Okay, Rob, what happens when you die?
All right, let me. I want to go back because I want to go into this, okay? Because when we're talking about religion, like Stan said, most organized religions are corrupt. I don't know if corrupt, but they have an ulterior motive, okay? So I don't want to say corrupt. A lot of them are, okay? Again, I don't like funneling in, okay? But I will say this, a lot of what we believe was passed down with other motives. What I find funny when we talk about religion, when I talk to different sects or different people about their religion, sometimes I will know more about their religion than they do. And we're going to talk about Catholics. I'll ask a Catholic, do you believe in order to go to heaven, because this is where it's going to segue into your heaven thing, okay, that you have to say and give confession to a man, and that man then brings it before God? Oh, no, I don't believe that. You just knocked out half the Catholic religion, okay? But you want to tell me you're Catholic. Well, you just follow along with some of the doctrine. And I think that's what's happening now. People are picking and choosing the portions of things. People are waking up and they're starting to form their own opinions. And this is why I think religion is in trouble. It's actually in trouble.
Stan, most organized religions may be corrupt. However, their intention was to control the populace. It's not always bad, because we are always searching for some kind of structure in our existence. And it's got great parables. It's got great morals to it. If you look at the Ten Commandments, in theory, they are good. They are great guidelines to go ahead and live by. And you'll find similar guidelines in Judaism, Buddhism, Hindu. There are similar guidelines across the board. But it all comes down to live a good life and you get rewarded when it's all said and done. Now, whether your reward happens...
That's not what all of them believe, but go ahead. I'm listening. It's really not.
Okay, educate me.
Okay, you take a lot of Methodists through, we'll go Pentecostal Baptists, free will, things like that. They don't care how good you live. Okay? If you have not accepted, if you've not admitted you're a sinner, ask for forgiveness from God himself through Jesus Christ and accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you will not go to heaven. I don't care who you are. And there are a vast people that you need to understand don't believe what you just said.
Okay,
That you can live a great life and split hell wide open. Now, I'm not saying that's my belief, but to say that that's what religion's about, no, brother, you're wrong. You just cut out about probably a third, even the Catholics. Doesn't matter how you live.
Okay.
You got to say, I'm sorry first.
Okay. You're talking about Christianity. I'm talking about religion. There is a difference. Christianity
Right. But
believes confirmation.
Bruce, even Islam does not just say, "Oh, live a good life and you'll go to heaven." No, you have to follow these tenets. You have to follow this. Muslim, same thing. You're way oversimplifying this by saying that most religions are just live a good life and you'll go to heaven. That is the farthest thing from most religions. It really is, and that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. That's why people get so stuck in their dogma, because they believe there is only one path to heaven. Now, those paths are different depending on which religion you are, but living a good life is not part of it. It's a requirement of a Christian, but you have to be a Christian to get into heaven.
Once you accept the Holy Spirit, you are reborn in the Lord. And at that point, you are supposed to go ahead and be in his image.
Okay, but you skipped a part. Once you say, "I'm sorry," you admit I'm a sinner, and you accept Jesus Christ, then the Holy Spirit comes into your heart. That, yes, now you're reborn. Now, the truth of the matter is, many sects believe that you should try to be living this good life, but even if you don't, if that's what you've done, you're going to go to heaven. And it's hard to understand. And I'm just talking about what people believe. I'm not saying what I believe here. Okay. Baptists will tell you, a true dyed-in-the-wool Baptist, Southern Baptist, Independent Fundamental Baptist, one of the arguments used to be, well, you mean if right before Hitler died, he said, "I'm sorry, I accept Jesus Christ into my heart, and I ask for forgiveness, and I accept you as Lord of my life," and then he dies. He's in heaven.
I was going to use
He's
the
in
death
heaven.
row
Now,
analogy.
what's the likelihood of that happening? And I hate when people get all caught up over that. But that is how basic that a lot of those beliefs are.
I was going to use the death row story, but yeah, pretty much the end result's the same thing.
Yeah.
Sig, yes. And I think that it's supposed to go ahead and confuse you. Like I said, I do believe religion is, like I said before, about control. And
Oh, I'm with you there. 100%. 100%.
and it's structured to go ahead and give you a roadmap and a path. When it's all said and done, whether it's God, Yahweh, whatever, I mean, I have given more to the whole Gaia belief that just the earth and energy and all this has something. But as for when you pass away, there is a eternal Disneyland that you get to go to, and you see everybody there, and you're hanging out. And I'm not, I'm not sold. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
sold.
now you asked what this kind of led back to that. You asked what I believed about that when you die. I was raised to believe just that. And I find it funny that people will say, well, there's streets of gold. Let's talk about. No, if you go back and read it, there's a street. Okay. It's street of gold. So there ain't going to, it's either a long goddamn street. Okay. Or there ain't going to be that many people on it. Okay. So, cause it's only one. All right. So, what this is where some of my questioning came in. All right, because if you're going to accept that belief, I'm a firm believer our own physics teaches us for
I
every
believe we what?
action there's an I'm trying to preface it to show you what I believe. Our own physics teaches
Okay.
us for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Good,
Okay.
there's bad. Things like that. So if I'm going to have to believe that, then I also have to swallow hell as taught by these same religions. Okay. And hell is another catchy point with me. It's something I just don't know that I believe. So therefore, that thought comes within now my doubts, now my things, my free thinking starts kicking in.
Well,
Do we
isn't
really believe that? All right, and I think I've told you this. I don't remember.
well, Judaism doesn't believe in hell. And they're the number two religion, but Judaism doesn't have a hell.
Right, and
That,
Mormons do not. Okay, they believe that hell there's four levels of heaven, and the bottom rung is we're living life, but you don't have the Holy Spirit, Jesus, God. You're living without that. Each step is how you live, and a true Mormon will be up here where you live with all three, and you only get to go through one of the four phases of heaven. One of the things, and you know, and again, I'm confused a little bit about what Judaism to say what it actually believes. And there's a rabbi that I can actually contact, and I think maybe I will ask him some questions. All right, because I find it hard to believe. I know several Jews that believe in nothing. When we're dead, we're dead. That's it. It's all about how we live our life now. Then when we die, we're gone. That's it. But their very scriptures, the Old Testament, um, the Quran, and I get Torah, Quran all screwed up in my head. My best friend Warren is going to kill me. Um, Talks about Solomon, or I think it was Saul, using witches to recall Solomon because he needed advice. And so their own scriptures talks about life after death and being able to be resurrected, things like that. So I can't tell you what Judaism is. I can tell you, I know there are Jews that believe in a heaven. I know there are Jews that believe in a hell. I know there are Jews that believe in nothing. But I can tell you the same thing about Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals. Well, most Pentecostals and Baptists now, they believe in heaven and hell. All right.
my understanding is that uh, you keep getting a shot until you get it right.
And
Uh,
that's what I'm wondering. I don't, and I don't know. We're going to have to see. My belief is we're here to learn something.
Jennifer,
Okay.
If you're watching, I might need your help on this. Uh, she is my little sister, and she is my Jewish counselor. She is,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm,
I
I'm
might need your
glad to
advice
have
on
you.
this. Yeah. Now go back to what Sig just said before this about she believes she is spirit. Go back one.
I,
Now,
I believe when we die, we live in spirit in the universe. And this is a very common belief with a
yeah.
lot of people that aren't attached to a structured religion, that
Mhm.
God lives within us, that God is this energy that I was talking about that encompasses masculine, feminine, different things of what we know. And a lot of people believe that when we die, what we're trying to do is work to get back to that light and to get into the purest sense of God. Buddhism believed that we had to keep doing this until we got it all right. Once you got it right, you were done. You didn't have to come back here anymore.
Right.
That this was kind of like a punishment or no, you're not. It's like
Proving
a
ground.
purifying thing,
This is a
huh?
proving ground. This is a
Yeah,
proving ground.
it's proving ground.
Um,
But I do believe in dimensions. So I'm wondering if when we die, you know, I believe in time is more, we have different times stacked rather than running linear. Okay. We do have to come back. We do come back, or we can actually choose to come back. All right. Um, but at the same point, I don't know if we're forced to come back like in reincarnation. Okay. Where, oh, you didn't learn this lesson or you really screwed up. So now you're coming back as a caterpillar. Okay.
I,
I don't know how far that goes.
I'm and actually while I'm saying this, Stan, Bridget, I want to know your thoughts at the bottom because I want to go and throw it in there. But back to what Sig said, I'm close to what she's. I think that you have a certain consciousness with you, whether it's your soul, your spirit, your energy. I think that when you move on, all energy goes back into the spirit and then gets rekindled. And if that becomes into another person, that's where you have uh, reincarnations. That's where you have, and what is the word I'm trying to think of? Uh, the Scrolls begins with an A. What am I trying to think of, Rob?
The Akashic Records.
Yes, yes, but and I think that is strictly energy based. When you pass, something happens, and that gets out there, and you may not become another person. You may go ahead and become a tree or a turtle or something, and and that's where I get into believing that there is something that's got a cosmic hand in all this.
Do
But
you remember the movie Phenomenon with
if
John
you
Travolta?
uh, if you remember, that was a chat name of mine for a long, long time. That's where
Oh,
Finn came from. You, when you
ah,
met me, you knew me as Finn through a chat room.
yes.
Finn was short for Phenomenon, and it was actually based on that movie. One of my favorite movies of all time, and it's
I
actually had
love
to
that
do with
movie.
this conversation. But yes, Finn came. But yes,
But at the end, when he dies, he's taught right before he dies, he talks to these kids about eating the apple. Do you remember that portion of the movie? It's your favorite. And then when he dies, it's alluded to that that's what he does. The energy rejoins the universe because the trees are blowing in the wind. Not that he's the tree, not that anything else. I believe that the opportunity exists to be in other dimensions. I believe the opportunity exists to be an energy force. It's whatever path we're going to take or whatever
do you
we're
believe
going to do.
there is a greater hand than you? You are done with this section. It's time you go over here,
Right.
and then when that's done, it's time for you to go over here. And there is a greater plan. And there's also another movie that's called Defending Your Life. It was a
I know the name of it. I have not seen it.
had Meryl Streep, Rip Torn in it.
Okay.
Uh, uh, basically, when you die, you actually go on to the equivalent of a trial, and they look at certain days of your life, and you have to go ahead and defend those actions about it, and those are pivotal moments of your existence. And the premise is that our life here on the planet is nothing but how we deal with fear, whether you believe it or not. But
No,
the premise of the movie,
I can go there. I can go there.
the premise of the movie is how you deal with fear and the challenges. Okay, but and what you did during these precipice moments of your world, of your
Other
life.
people are in here, so chime in if you got a question or whatnot. We will talk about it. Nobody will get picked on. This is a respectful conversation. Bruce and I will differ on different things, but we still respect each other's opinion and we demand that of everybody here. But please go ahead, jump in, pop in a thought, a process. It'll spur us on to talk about something else. See, Glinda mentioned possibly being from another galaxy.
Well,
Okay.
I think that energy
Who's
is
to say that's not?
energy, and whether you are on this earth or whatnot, I mean, energy is just one big circle, and we talked about a couple of shows ago that we are a very, 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 very small blip on a much broader world. And we're not just talking, you know, galaxy. We're talking universally. Honestly, universally. Uh, and yeah, uh,
You have choices that you pick for this. Okay, I'm going to tell her no more biblical scrolls. You have choices that you pick for this life. Put this stuff in segments,
well,
like
that's why she had
picking
to go
from an
into.
apothecary cabinet. What happens in the life you are currently cognizant of is the lessons you choose to learn to move on to the next level or lessons, et cetera, and so on, until you have completed your journey to ultimately go to a higher level beyond this plane. I get that. Okay. I need to learn to be humble. So I got to come back and maybe I'm taking on a different role to learn. Maybe I need to learn to understand other people. So I get that. What she's saying is this is a choice. All right. I and people say we're here to learn lessons or whatnot. Here's my only issue with that. And I think you're right. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Okay. So, what is human experience? Emotion with the biggest of, which is fear and happiness. Okay. That's it. Okay. How do we handle emotion? So, my big thing is if it's how we deal with fear, why is it so important beyond this life to understand how to deal with fear?
Okay. I'm not saying it's actually fear. Uh, but the movie did. I do believe though that there are certain things in your life that you are going to be judged by. There are certain guideposts in your life that are going to go ahead and define you, and you may not even, and you probably don't realize that when you're in that moment. But everything you do is a conscious decision, and some of the smallest decisions have the greatest impact. Uh,
Absolutely.
and now, back to Gillian's post. I'm not sure. I personally, not to say she's wrong, but uh, I don't believe that life is a pass or fail. I don't think that when you've gotten to a certain point and you've taken the test and I made a 71, woohoo, I get to go and move on. And that wasn't meant to be disrespectful, it was meant to actually get a laugh. But I don't think that I think that you take what you learn and it's a gradual scale. And whatever Gaia decides that you have taken from this and you need to apply to this, uh, it, it's, it, it does a thing. And I don't believe there's a certain threshold. I think
You
that
know, but
it is
now let me
slow
ask you this,
maturation.
though.
Okay.
Hey, Jay, April, glad to see you here. Linda, I agree with you. Let me catch up here with some of our people making posts. Glad you are here. We're talking religion tonight and different beliefs and different things. Now, if I take some of what Gillian's saying, though, okay, and I implement that, maybe it's because this is a training ground, Bruce, for me to go on to be a spiritual guide, an angel that I have to step through and understand. So when I take on my next form, as we would call Jesus, as we would call the Buddha, as we would call different people, ascended masters, okay, that I'm mastering this. So in my next stage, it's there for me to help and understand. So if I don't learn how to deal with fear, if I don't learn pride, if I don't learn what self esteem, what these people are dealing with, I cannot function. It's kind of like being a half assed mental health counselor, kind of like being one of those preachers we talked about that don't know a flippant thing about Freud or anything, but they want to tell everybody how to live their life. Okay. Because somebody told them this is what the book said. So I can see what Gillian's saying there in that aspect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If that is, maybe that's the answer. We're striving to be, then we have to do terms of service for humankind, other beings, other entities. We have to do terms of service for people that pass. And then we're moving on to get back to that whole I have achieved, I have become God. Does that make sense?
I followed you down the path, and I can see how it makes sense to you. Uh, I'll go.
So then, bottom line is when you die, do
Okay.
you think you're done? That your energy is just dispersed? And
Absolutely
that
not.
you, okay, so
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
what do you believe is going to happen?
I believe that there is a greater hand, and for the purpose of conversation, we're going to call it Gaia.
Okay.
That there is a greater hand, and they're going to go ahead and look and see what you've done, the good, the bad, and how you should be improving upon yourself. And they're going to put you into that situation. And whether it's on this realm, this sphere, as a human, whatever it may be. I mean, and
So
it
you
may
have to
not
learn
even
a
be,
lesson.
it may not even go ahead and be, I mean, on this planet. It may be this galaxy, but somewhere
I'm with
along
you
the
there.
line, energy, there is a greater hand that says you can benefit from being over here Go over there and figure it out. I don't believe that they're micromanaging every decision you make.
Oh, I
I
don't
don't.
either.
I, 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 I
But
don't
what
believe.
you just said is you have to learn lessons before you can move on to the ultimate, whatever the ultimate achievement is. If you
I'm
haven't
not.
gotten this figured out, somebody's making a decision to say,
I,
well, we
I,
might need, let's
I
let
am
him
not.
try with the
I am not.
Morkians, you
I
know.
am not sure there is an ultimate achievement. I mean, I'm not sure there is an actual goalpost to get to.
All
I'm
right.
not
So then,
sure there is.
but then you just said somebody's going to be looking at us. What do you believe then happens if you believe that we die and there is going to be some type of judgment to determine where we go next?
I don't like the term judgment, but okay.
Okay, well, that's I may not
Um,
like it, but that's what you're talking about.
no,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Judgment has a different connotation.
Somebody's making a decision, okay, about what you need next.
Let's okay. When it's all said and done,
Yeah.
and I pass,
Mm-hmm.
I expect to go ahead and have my energy go. I expect to have a brief moment that I get to go ahead and see who and what I have been through the whole spectrum. And if there are souls who I've connected with, I believe we have partners on a spiritual level. And
I
I
would
think
agree.
that at that point, you get to go ahead and actually connect with them on a spiritual level. And you get some time. Then you get choices and said, you have achieved this, and you can go here, 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 or here. Pick your path. And then you pick your path, and then when it's said and done, and whether this life is 100 years, 80 years, whatever it may
Okay.
be, and you may choose to go ahead and become a dung beetle, and then in 3 days you get to do it again. But whatever it is, and then when that's done, you get a chance to go and do it again, and then and think of it like a video game.
Okay,
When
I
it,
hear you, and I like that concept.
and on a video game, you may have some people playing, and they're at level 175. And
Right.
as they go, the levels keep going up, levels keep going up, levels keep going up. So there's no threshold saying, okay, Pokemon, we used to go ahead and play at level 40 was as high as you can go ahead and go. Um, then now it's level 50. I don't think there is that cap. I think as you go, it's going to go ahead and just keep growing, and there really is no threshold. Somewhere along the line, you may become one of the levels that are able to go ahead and look at people, and as you come up, advise them and say, well, you kind of went ahead and did this and that, and I'm processing these as your options. Pick where you want to
Okay.
go to.
So then that's what you're saying is there may be an ongoing continuum that there is no final conclusion. I want to
Yes.
make sure that I've got this right. Okay. But that also we will have choices.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Of
Yeah.
where we want to go. Do you believe one of those choices will be to cease to exist?
Interesting question. Um,
And I have no thought behind it, but I'm
off the
just
top of my
following this path.
off the top of my head, I'm going to say no. You
Okay.
have got to go ahead and become something because you are energy, and energy always gets
Energy is.
given back.
Okay. I will
Energy
go with you
always
on that
gets
one.
given back.
Yep.
So you could choose to be a dung beetle,
Mm-hmm.
in which case energy is insignificant. You could choose to become a tree, and then you get to go ahead and just hang out for 500 years and be slow
Yeah, I
and
married one of
kind of.
those. Not my wife.
Well,
Oh shit! Not you! Stop it!
as your screen goes blurry,
The
yes, you're
Reb
like, okay,
just got himself in
oh,
trouble, buddy.
okay, yeah,
Oh,
you get
open
none for a
wide,
week, Dan.
tasting the
You
shoe
get
leather. You
you get
know?
none for
Yeah.
a week. Uh,
But let's talk. Gillian here is talking about old souls, and this is something I can really attach into. We've seen children that are wise beyond their years. We have seen people that have insight. And I think it's because of some of this of reliving, recurring, practicing, learning, and understanding their history. So they're old souls. It's not bad to keep coming back. Okay. Might be different timelines, might not. Okay. But that goes into your old soul theory. If I choose to come back because I want to master something in the human
Oh,
existence,
I child prodigies,
yeah,
absolutely. They have been. They didn't learn to play the piano in 4 years of their life. Um, they actually brought some of that with them. They
right.
have this aptitude. Uh, but yes, absolutely. And I'm sure there's someone who, when it's said and done, they were a true artist. And this is what they enjoyed, and their soul connected to that. And one of their options were you can go back to Earth and be a person.
I want
And
to ask Stan a question
absolutely,
because,
I want to hear Stan's feedback. Sure.
because this is, there are a finite number. I've heard this philosophy before, okay, who come back over and over and over again. My issue was that is the population continues to grow. The human population on this earth continues to grow. Where does that number reach a point where, if we continue to grow, at what point is everybody here? And there was a movie, The Seventh Sign, or something with Demi Moore about, the last soul from heaven. Heaven is empty. So I'd like to hear what he thinks
Stan,
about that idea.
Stan, I want you to clarify your comment. Are you saying that everybody on Earth is allowed to, or there is a group of 100,000 people who are allowed to go ahead and come back over and over and over again? Or are you saying
Ah,
that the whole populace actually has that? Uh,
that's an interesting point. Thank you.
yeah. And I want to kind of clarify that for him. Yes, we'll go with that. There is also actually, I'm going to talk about Gillians before I go off on this.
Okay.
Uh, um, yeah, you can be dimensions transect,
Yeah.
and you can possibly be at one of those points that, and I believe everything curves, everything's fluid. You may be at a point that two or three of those lines intersect, and you could be at that plane. Uh, and I don't want to go and make this spacey, but um,
Well, but a lot of times it leads to that. So go right ahead.
Atlanta had a scientist, PhD in physics, and I don't know enough to explain this effectively, but I read a news article on it that in deciphering the code of the universe, and it's got a universal code to it that talks about how it grows and expands, whatever the case may be. And that is the exact same code that computers use, search engines use. It is a very, very
Okay.
common algorithm. So if that's the case, and we can go ahead and take this to its next logical step, and logical to me, it might not be logical to you, but if we can follow this out to which would be a logical end, how about that we're actually just digital bits of information?
Well, we talk about that in when going through school. There's the brain in the vat theory, that the truth of the matter is this world is only truly mine. You only exist because I need you to exist.
Uh-huh.
That
And
literally when we disconnect and you and I are out of contact, you no longer exist. Okay. When I meet you again, you're coming back with a story I need to hear to keep my brain alive of what you and Bridget did or whatnot, and vice versa. Okay. But in the true brain in a vat theory, it's my brain, only my brain, and it's only your brain. So I I love Stan here, and this is going to.
Wait a
I
minute,
have
wait a
been
minute,
told.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Before we jump into
Okay.
this, I would like to believe that if you have this all as your own little brain algorithm, your own little private program going on for you, you and me, my personal life, would be in a much better environment.
And that's what I'm not saying I believe it, but we actually go so far as discussing the way people think in different flat earthers, things like that, or whatnot of the concept and the theory.
I would
Now,
like to think that I would have some smarter people around me. I mean,
mhm.
all my smartphones are smarter than me.
Hey, hey, hey.
No, no, all my smart friends are smarter than me. You can take whatever you want to out of that, but all my smart friends are smarter than me. Uh,
I like
yes, yes, yes,
and that I've never thought
yes.
about that before. But maybe Stan, would you think that this part that there are literally soulless beings walking the planet, thus this explains evil, or it explains psychopath, sociopath, uh, because they're soulless beings. Some of them have no souls. What do you mean by that?
I
Help me understand it.
uh, taking that statement at face value. Uh, I think that the soul is part of your consciousness that comes with you, um, and I think that you have a soul. Everybody has a soul, and some are beautiful and blue and green and purple and bounding, and some are black and brown and dark and dim. But I think everybody has a soul, and everybody has a certain amount of energy they carry with them. Um, and some choose to go ahead and project that and take that light they have and make it to be a 100-watt bulb. Boom, put it out there. And then some are happy with just being a plant's light bulb at their best moment.
An amoeba? Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody has a soul. And that's what carries you through. And that's the tie that determines when it's all said and done where you kind of go to. And I think
Okay.
your soul is the vehicle for that. Uh, Actually, your soul is the heart of that. Your energy is the vehicle for your soul.
Right.
So I think everybody has a soul. I think that's part of it. I mean, just like everybody has a brain. Now, some are working better than others.
Yes, you can feel them. Sometimes you can walk around people and feel like they're sucking the common sense right out of you. They are sponges. I get that. Stan, thank you. I appreciate that insight, because that would be another way to look at it. Stan, I'm in agreement. I believe we have been, when we transform, I'm going to use the word transform or ascend, okay? From that moment, okay? A lot of what Bruce is saying, I believe in, we are going to be presented with choices. I have choices. I believe Gillian and I have known each other in different lives. Bruce, I believe that you and I have possibly known each other in other lives, because it's one of those things where, like, hey, let's try it this way and see where this goes. Because once we're in that transcended state, in that ascended state, okay, we have the true understanding of concept that there is no time. Okay, that we can do this and live and be and learn all these different things. I do believe in different dimensions. I do believe very much so. You saw what happened in Tulum with me. I've had several people, I'm like Stan, with past life experiences. Okay. People have told me that Cody and I in a previous life were actually brothers. All right. So I believe in this. I believe in the creativity. I believe it is where we go. Okay. I think hell was designed by man, okay, to solicit a response and a behavior. Okay. I believe religion, and I think this is where Sieglinde was going earlier, is done. to solicit certain behaviors, certain responses, and to advance moral codes of somebody else's choosing. Does that make sense?
And I think that's what we opened up with it. The Ten Commandments, they're a great guideline to go ahead and go by. But some of them are maybe not the legends you have to go ahead and go with. You can see
Yeah.
anuses. What?
What?
Oh, auras. Okay, I'm sorry. I
Not
thought
anuses, auras. Okay. And the
it's
people with
sand.
no auras are
It's
anuses.
sand. I mean, you got to be
That's
careful.
classic.
You got to be
That's
careful. That was a double
classic.
take. You know,
That's
um,
classic. But it is, and some of that is, Stan, love this time. We need to get Stan on here. We can do this again with Stan part of the show. We need to do that.
oh, I'm sure Stan would click into several different topics we have. So,
oh yeah,
yeah,
so that's what, and this is just a spot. What we're trying to do is open people's mind just for concepts.
Thanks, Meg. Appreciate it.
What's that?
I was telling her thank you for the comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. And Stan is now laughing so hard it hurts, okay, at the anuses comment. All right.
Yeah.
Because again, there's so many. When we talk about where are we from, where are we going? There was a time when, you couldn't relate it to a UFO because nobody believed in them. Now we actually have people such as Siglenda, and it's okay, and many people that believe we were actually seeded here from another planet. Okay. And is that a far-fetched thought? I don't think it's absolutely far-fetched at
No.
all. And if we go off the concept that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and I think I've told you this before, then in essence, we are all star seeds, because it means we're coming from a different plane, a different dimension, a different galaxy, a different wherever, okay, to be here as a human being. So the essence of us is not human.
So I'm going to reel you right back in on this.
Okay.
So
keep in mind, I've really not given my opinion of what I believe. So
how does that belief impact religion and Christianity?
That's why they're having such a hard time in today's world.
No.
What do you mean?
No. You, not them, not me. You. How does that impact your belief, and what do you believe?
How does it impact my belief? That is kind of my belief, and it was a very traumatic thing for me to finally step away and say, I don't believe everything I was taught as a child. I don't believe everything I heard. Some people I respected, men I respected, women I respected. I think they've been lied to. I think they've been sold a bill of goods, and were trained to sell it to other people. And so it does. It upsets what. Now, again, Christianity is a very broad word. What are you defining as Christianity? If we say Christianity being right-wing religion, which I don't believe you have to be right-wing religion to be a Christian. Okay. What is a Christian?
You were doing an amazing job of avoiding the question.
No, because
wait a minute.
What is your definition of Christianity?
Wait. You're saying what it is, how to define it in other people's terms. You're saying what it's not. And you're trying to go ahead and use cultural norms and labels to define what.
Yeah, it's called communication, Bruce. That's what I have to give. Okay.
The question is, what does the whole starseed thing? I love the starseed thing. I believe it 100%. So, how does that impact your religion?
Massively.
Okay. So, what? How does it? And what's the end result for you?
It's a whole new belief system for me. It's rearranging and coming to all new fundamentals. Okay. New beliefs, new ideas. And that's why when we call it awakening, not being woke, I'm talking about enlightenment, awakening, it can be very traumatic because we've been brainwashed. There have been things we've been taught to believe, told to believe, and everything else. And for me, it was very hard because I had to admit my whole concept of God was skewed. So I had to redevelop that. And I have to redevelop my beliefs about Jesus as being Christ or an ascended master. I have to look at that. Okay. And it was tough on me. Very tough. Very tough.
I hear you, and I realize that you know what it's not, and how
Right.
you learned what it's not.
You asked me what I believe. Okay.
Exactly. We know what you don't believe, and we know how you got a decision about how you don't believe that.
Right.
What is it you do believe?
My belief is that we are spiritual beings having
Okay.
a physical experience. Okay.
Okay.
My belief is that we are put here to learn, to experiment. I do believe that we are here to try to reach a higher enlightenment and to learn. And I think people master it and move on. And then we move to different planes or whatnot. Or kind of like what you said. And again, it's a belief because I have no way, nobody has a way to prove any of this.
It's all about
Okay.
faith. It's all about what your gut
It is
says.
about
Yes.
belief.
Yes,
But
it is.
I believe, all right, my belief, and one of the things that makes me believe it's different than whatever Christianity says it is the fact when somebody's depressed, when I'm depressed. Let's talk about me, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel that way. And I get in this, well, it's not my heart, it's not in my head. Where is that? Why is it then there's another part of me that needs to learn to be in control? Therefore, I have to acknowledge that third part, okay, is something completely different than anything I was ever taught it was. I believe we have powers. I believe we can heal. I believe that we're only beginning to touch of what we can do with a human spirit, with our magic, with God, with the energy that the universe has given us. I believe we move on. I believe that we will, when I die, I'm going to be presented with options. Somebody's going to be there, my spirit guides, whatever, to go, you got this pretty good, but you kind of screwed this up. Do you want to go do this part again? Kind of like what you were saying earlier.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
let
good
me
with
try it. Let me try it over here. Let me try it this way. Let me try it as a woman. Jay's wife, April, she believes that she and I were sisters in a previous life. Okay. So I believe we need to experience both sides of sexuality to understand that and see what's going on. Let me get some more questions back up
being
here. Kind of
ugly.
got lost. Religion leaders with their own agendas. Let's talk about fish on Fridays. Oh my God. Seriously, the Catholic Church was running the fish trade. Absolutely true, known to be true. And the Pope said, we're in a financial crisis, so God told me to tell you to eat fish on Fridays. One of the funniest things I had, Bruce, on this one of my partners in police work was Catholic. His mother was devout Catholic. And when John Paul came in,
I've heard the story a couple times from you.
yeah,
But yeah,
so let me tell you quick to other
I'm sure
people.
they
We're
haven't.
having
So yeah.
dinner, and John Paul said, okay, the whole Fish and Friday thing, we're done. We don't need to do that anymore. She was pissed. She was pissed when her son ordered a hamburger at the restaurant we were at. And I'm like, Mrs. Dorset, the Pope said it's okay. He had no right to do that. He's the vicar of freaking Christ, for
He
crying
isn't
out loud.
fallible. He isn't
He is
fallible.
he is Christ on earth, if you really understand what that position is. But you are going, he didn't have the right to do that because and that's what I'm talking about. We become so ingrained with our habits that we don't even lose sight. We lose sight of what we actually believe. You guys let me know when you want me to be on. I just need a cool black shirt. Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe religion was meant to divide us so we can follow. I believe Almighty God is one. Okay. Now, so that's where what Bruce and I are saying is I don't know. There is, if I believe God, is a conscious being, I still believe this God is of energy It's masculine, feminine, and it's about what it creates. And I can't see that energy creating something good. And I think this viewpoint
Wait a
here
minute.
is
Say
where
that again.
people are afraid to walk away
Say
from
that again for a second, Rob. I missed you on that.
what's that?
What you just said about the energy being created and
That if you believe in God, God is not a person. God is not, it's energy. God is energy, but
okay,
that energy is sentient. It
okay.
has feelings, it sees, it does not. And therefore, its purpose is to make things better, to project, to do whatever. Okay. But I think this is where people have a hard time because they've been taught so hard that the minute you start saying, I don't believe in the God of the Bible, it scares the bejesus out of somebody.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
You know, and Linda
Now,
right here.
now
Okay.
go
Go ahead.
go. Stan's comment was regardless of religion, color, sex, whatever it may be. I think that those are forms and physical characteristics that we go ahead and take, and they're actually the masculine and the feminine have some weight to it. But I think that your
And so we
race,
can understand it. That's all.
race and your color and stuff, those help you define who your tribe is going to be, or who your clique is going to be, or your culture is going to go and be. Uh, I think that when it's all said and done, and even the masculine and feminine may go ahead and be done at random, or I mean, the options you have, you know, if you're supposed to go ahead and be a feminine next journey, you have 5 choices. 4 of them are female, but you always have one male option if you want to.
Absolutely.
And again, I think that go back to Stan's comment for a second. Go back one. Different names, all the same being. No. I personally think that everybody has a God image to fit their cultural, their socioeconomic, their materialistic belief. I do not believe that the same God that my grandmother had, or even Stan had, is my God. I think that we have much, well, maybe not Stan and myself, but much different versions about who God is, who, what, and how God is. And that's just my belief. But I think that there is no one encompassing spirit out there. I think there is one, but we all see it and look at it and recognize it through a different lens and try to go ahead and appease it differently via the way we happen to go and perceive it.
Okay.
Did that go? Did I just jump the shark on that?
A little bit. Okay. I think
Yep.
I know what you're getting. You
Yeah.
don't believe that because a Muslim says Allah and we say God that we're talking about the same thing.
Correct.
Okay. And
Correct.
that's the best way I could say to try to do it. They have their belief that God and some of this is where we put what we believe God believes into God. Okay. So therefore, certain people believe in God, but is it all the same thing? Is it higher power? Is my higher power, I believe, might be different than yours.
I,
Okay.
I, I think we look at it through I think everybody has a different lens to see it, and some look at it through a much, much different lens.
And see, I want to talk to Stan about this one. And Stan, I hear you, but that's scripture. That is again somebody's interpretation of where this is. Or is it something that you were given as a download and you believe it, but then therefore I have to believe in your belief or I have to believe in you?
I think
Yeah.
I think that's a very ostentatious statement. I think we are one little blip in a much, much broader program, and to think that everything ends and stops with us, even our energy being being universal. When it's all said and done, we're just one drop in an ocean.
Right. Okay.
So
So then who made the decision? I believe, and what, here's what drive me nuts. I'm going to go back into my Baptist upbringing, that Jesus was here to teach us how we can live our lives. Okay. An ascended master. There are certain people that were here to show us that we are capable of living our lives, healing, touching, knowing. Was it Enoch? Who was the other one? Was it Elijah, that were caught up in chariots of fire? They were taken up because they were too good for this earth, is what the Baptists believe. But then they will turn around and tell you that God doesn't do miracle healing anymore. Okay? Only because they don't believe it. They can't explain it and they can't make it happen. I believe we can. We just don't have the power. One of the things we're here is to learn that we have certain aspects and magic that is available to us. That's part of our lesson here. That's part of our learning. That's part of our, so we can really comprehend it. Source. I like the word source, but I'm not necessarily, I think what Bruce is saying, that when a Muslim says Allah, or an Islamic person says Allah, they're not saying source. They believe there is an entity that has male, female qualities, or is sitting on a dais ruling us from another dimension.
yeah,
So I think I'm going to kind of go with Bruce on this one. I think if we're not careful, we try to oversimplify it. So can't we all just get along? When bottom line is that's,
that,
huh?
that.
Oh, I
Fuck
agree.
that getting along
Okay.
shit.
Nope.
Fuck that getting along.
Believe you are believe. I agree, Rob. I believe Jesus Christ was meant to send us a message of his image. Absolutely. And I believe other people were here to show us that we can live a different life. We can, this doesn't have to be that many of the things that we get involved in, we're not supposed to get involved in it. All right. It's not what we're supposed to be. That's human beings. That's the human aspect trying to control thought process and everything else.
Give me an example of that. Give me an example of that. Things we were involved in we should not be.
All right. This is going to piss a lot of people off. We have a lot of people confusing patriotism and Christianity. I'm a patriot. I'm a Christian. Ooh. You better read your own Bible, okay? Because if you go off of pure biblical things, okay, we should have never revolted against our king. The Bible says that. We should be servants and show people how good servants are. Okay? So all of my right-wing brothers and sisters that want to cuss Biden, I'm not saying I like the man by any stretch. You're very unscriptural. He is your leader, elected. And we as Christians should be supporting him and saying here, but we do get to speak out at the polls and vote. But to create the rhetoric, and that's what I'm talking about. We get with our heart beliefs, our emotional beliefs, and we start blending them with our church beliefs. And this is where pollution comes in and the whole thing gets, because I don't believe that the truth matter is, if we're all doing Enoch, I'll even go so far as help me, Muhammad, Buddha. Buddha was a young prince and walked out of the city completely naked, gave up everything and said, what God wants me to have, or what the universe, not God, what the universe wants me to have, it will give me. But you ain't seen many naked Buddhist monks, do you? And as a matter of fact, they can't even agree on everything. That's thus the designation of the different colors of the robes, or the different sects and the different beliefs. We get so much of our own personal thought in it that it gets all corrupted. Source is the name I use since I have pulled away from organized religion. And I think that I can go with you, Stan, on that one. I believe source. I believe there is a source. I believe Stan and I have the same thing. There is an energy. There is a source of power, abundance, giving, light, and energy that wants us, and we are part of that source. And we are here because we chose to be. So I believe that. And when we leave, I got people that from the church that probably will never talk to me again because of some of the things I'm saying here tonight, but it's true. And before you start going off about, give unto God that which is God's, give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. These are all scriptures. We're supposed to be, as Christians, passive and subservient. And a lot of people confuse that. We stray away from leadership as we follow and obeyed. We get materialistic and lay judgment. Yeah, because again, we're in our society. And I think, again, religion, what do we have? Where do we go? Think about it. In the church, who runs the church? He who gives the most money. That church gives those rules. Grew up in it, saw the numerous workings of inside, and there were people, I would hear these preachers go, I got to go with them because I've got 5 families that support a church of 500.
Yes.
So therefore, sorry, I got to go with the 5. All right. Or otherwise, the 495 won't have a place to come to church on Sunday because they're not giving back. So we do things. That's that whole human aspect coming in here. And I think that's what we have to learn to control. What do you think about that statement? Kind of bringing this full circle. Do you think we have forgotten who we are?
I was really letting you go there for a little bit. Kind of let you go ahead and just kind of, but I think I opened the show with religion is all about control. Religion, not Christianity, not theology, but religion is all about control. And whether it's through Christianity, whether it's through government, whatever it is, the ones with the money and the resources have the control. And Christianity has fallen victim to that just as well. You can talk to whatever your spirit is as well at home in your backyard as you can in a church setting. The only thing you get out of a church is you get to go ahead and be immersed in fellowship and be around like-minded people. That's the only thing church gives you. And there are educational, seminarial, there are some other benefits, but that all comes under the title of fellowship and being able to go ahead and discuss and perfect my craft. You can play an instrument at home just as well as you can at a bar. But when you sit with other musicians, you have a chance to go ahead and learn and stuff. That's the benefit of church. But without that, you can still play an instrument. You don't have to go ahead and I think I've kind of lost that, but I think you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like me singing. When I sing at the church, and I miss singing at the church, it was really uplifting for me. Really made me feel. And I posted something the other day. I don't know if any of y'all saw it.
I did.
Me singing in the church.
You had hair.
I had hair. I had hair and a bow tie. You believe that shit? Okay. But, it's one of those things, though, and I can do it here. But when I get with a bunch of other people and we're all singing the same song, it's that uplifting. It's that belief. It's that whatever. And Stan, I think Stan has it right here. You know what? It's your belief, and I need to respect that's your belief. I don't have to believe it. And I think that's the key here. But that's the key to a lot of things. We don't have to agree politically. But I ought to respect you as a person. What do you think?
Recognize, realize, regard, respect. That's that's what the whole show is about when it's said and done. And it's how to go ahead and have discussions like this and be able to go ahead and do them and disagree without pissing somebody off. And as we've gotten away from that, and
We really have. We really
I'm
have.
surprised that we have found more common ground than we did on this. I expected us to go ahead and have a little more divergence,
Mm-hmm.
but we're probably not as far apart as I would have thought we were.
I
But
don't think we are.
it's taken an hour and a half to go ahead and kind of realize that and have that epiphany. Um, when you don't know somebody, I mean, we've been friends for 20 or so odd years. And I don't think we have ever actually discussed religion in depth.
Not like this. Not to that
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
You know.
And I had you as pegged for something else, and I think you had me probably pegged for something else.
You were about where I thought, but you've got to understand in that process, if we go back 20 years, I had a major transformation from the person you first knew in my
And
thought patterns and process.
you
And
know what?
and
You were cute back then. You were small, sexy. I mean, you had, boobs, and now you've got the whole Adam apple and the junk and stuff. So I mean, your transformations actually not that because you were an ugly chick to start with, man.
yeah,
So I mean, the
you know,
transformation, kind of, we're, it is, man. It
now
is. I
it's
mean,
just Thursdays. It's just Thursdays. My kids call me Marie on Thursdays, but I'm trying. It's hard to find 12 triple E pumps. You know, so but
well,
I'm looking. I'm looking, and we love you too, Stan.
So hey, I have really enjoyed this show, and we need to go ahead and I think we need to do more live stuff.
I do too.
I think if we haven't done anything in a while and schedules don't, we end up having to go and do something at 10 o'clock in the morning. Maybe not. Maybe be pre-recorded, but it's all said and done, and schedules allow. I think the live stuff kind of like it.
You know what? I do too. And I think what we could actually do is invite Stan, Sieglinde, Gillian, if Bridget wants to come. Some of the people that are here, we can do a live and have them live with us and do more of a roundtable discussion. If everybody's interested in that.
I'd be open to it. So
As long
hey,
as everybody can we got to raise our hands or something because there's a lot of strong personalities in there, buddy.
Before we jump off, did we catch all the comments out there? Are we up there on the comments? I don't want to go and have anybody put something valuable in, something that is, thought provoking, and we have cut them off for time. We're already over time, so I want to make sure everybody has had their. Are we there?
Yes, from what I can see, I hit every comment, and we are good to go. And thank you folks for the compliments on the singing video. I appreciate it. All right. So here we go. Stan, I'm down. So Stan's in. Kenny, now here's somebody new popping in at the last minute. Kenny, glad to see you.
Hey,
We're
Ken,
just
how you doing, buddy?
Hey, we're just talking about we're going to be holding some of these some more. Subscribe because I do tarot classes, things like that. All kinds of things come through Tarot with an Attitude. Check it out. Go to YouTube, Tarot with an Attitude, subscribe and get notified because we're going to be doing more straight up conversations about news topics, religion, things like that to show people that we can have a conversation, have differences of opinion, and still love each other and care about each other. It's okay.
My brother.
Gillian's in.
My brother, thank you for it, man.
Absolutely.
Until next time, my friend.
Until next time, everybody have a good one. Remember, respect, respect, respect. Okay? Peace. Have a good one.
Out.